Hello, welcome to another episode of the Startup Sessions. And this week I am chatting about subject lines. So on Monday I went live and I talked about 2 tips to up your subject line game. And today I am telling you about 3 more. So you are in for a treat. But before I get started, I'm going to share this over to my Facebook group business class, so they don't miss out on all the fun. And I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Colette Broomhead. If you're new around these parts, then huge welcome to you. I'm an online startup strategist. Try saying that 3 times quickly. And I work with new online business owners, and I help people basically go from zero to the point where they are replacing their 9-to-5 income and able to quit their 9-to-5 for good. And if that's you, then I would love to help you too. So keep watching. If you haven't already joined, come and join us in the Facebook group business class. And there's tons more goodness in there too. So let me just share this over. Okay, right. So quick reminder, if you didn't catch Monday's live, the 2 subject line tips I shared with you then were using emojis, which is a bit of a controversial topic, bizarrely controversial considering it's an emoji, but basically it's kind of like Marmite, shall we say. People either love them or hate them, and so it does create, it's a bit polarizing, emojis, and there will be some people who will say using emojis in your subject lines, or in fact any of your content, is unprofessional, comes across as poor copywriting or whatever. The fact is, tests have been done and have proven that including emojis in a subject line increases open rates. So use that as you will. At the very least, test it with your audience, because chances are it will work for you too. It's that pop of color. It's that, it just grabs the attention more than the kind of sea of text that is otherwise there in someone's inbox. So try it. If you haven't already, let me know how you get on. The second tip that I shared on Monday was all around personalization, and the fact that we humans love to see our own names, our own hometowns, anything that relates to us somehow calls out to us much more than other types of content. And so if you have included some snippet of personal information in your subject line, then someone is much more likely to spot it in their inbox. When you see your own name, it jumps out at you. Again, if you haven't tried that, give it a go. It may well give your open rates a boost. Now, before I move on to today's tips, let me just talk a little bit about why it's so important. Why do you need a good subject line? Is it really that big a deal? The answer is yes, it is a massive deal. In fact, I would make the argument that your email subject lines are perhaps the most important copy that you will write in your business, because email marketing itself is one of the most powerful tools that you will use to sell in your business, to build relationships and to sell your stuff. It has 3 times the reach of any social media platform, and it works. Email is probably where you will sell most of your stuff if you're doing it right. And the fact is, if you're not getting your subject lines right, people aren't going to open your emails. And so all the work, all the effort that you're putting into the emails themselves will be for nothing, because no one's going to be reading them if you then just, shove a quickly rushed subject line in there. So please don't waste all the efforts that you're putting into your emails themselves by not giving your subject lines their due attention. So that's why it's important. And with that, let me dive into today's subject line tips. So the first tip I have for you is the open loop. Now, don't worry if you're not sure what that means. It's essentially a kind of copywriting marketing term, and all it means is creating curiosity. So being a bit of a tease is essentially what an open loop is. It's giving people half the picture so that their curiosity is aroused and they want to know more. They want to know the end of the story. They want to know the answer to the question. And so they click and they open your email. So let's talk about some examples of what an open loop might look like. So an open loop, it could be where you are giving people the problem but not quite giving away the solution. So for example, your subject line might be something like, this is what helped me to lose 7 pounds in 3 days. So they know that you're going to tell them how to lose 7 pounds in 3 days, but the subject line doesn't tell them how. So they have to open it. They have to open the email to close that loop and learn how. That makes sense? Let me know if not, if you're watching this either live or in the replay, and any of this is kind of bringing up any questions, do let me know. Equally, if you're having any aha moments, then let me know that too, because it's always nice to know that the tips are helping people. Another example of an open loop would be, again, kind of being a bit of a tease and creating some kind of suspense. So something just like, you'll never believe what just happened. So we know that something has happened, but we don't know what. And in order to find out what, they have to open the email to close the loop. Okay, starting to kind of make sense. Another one could be, you're about to make a huge mistake. So again, we know, like, you're telling us I'm about to make a huge mistake, but I don't know why, and I don't know what you mean. And to find that out, I've got to click and open the email for an explanation to this bizarre accusation. Okay, so open loop is essentially giving people kind of half the information, and arousing that curiosity, so they have to click, they have to keep reading in order to understand the kind of end of the story. Okay, so that's the open loop. The second tip for today is all around word count, and word count is often something which comes up regarding subject lines. What's the perfect word count? What's the perfect character count? Now, actually, this point is less of a tip and more of a some helpful advice, I would say, and that is, don't stress about word count. There are a few things that it's worth considering and that it's worth knowing, but ultimately, chances are, if you've got a good subject line, there's other things that are going to be more impactful than word count or character count on whether your subject line is going to work or not. So a few things just to consider that are helpful to know are, obviously you need to, if you want to consider how much of the subject line people can see, if you want the whole subject line to fit into your preview pane, especially on a mobile phone, then you should probably be aiming to keep under around 50 characters. Anything more than that, and it will kind of go too far, and people won't be able to see the whole subject line when they're looking at the preview pane, especially on their phone. So that's something to bear in mind. Something else that my phone, without fail, makes noises when I'm live, and yes, I never set it to silent. You'd think I'd learn my lesson. Anyway, never mind. Something else to bear in mind is that most studies seem to find that around 5 to 8 words tend to be the kind of sweet spot in terms of word count. But again, I'm going to stress, don't get so het up on this that you're kind of like fretting over word count rather than the actual content of those words and what those words are, because there are so many studies out there, and different studies have proven different things to the point where really it's kind of meaningless, frankly. So by all means, test it yourself, because that's the best way to find out what works for your audience, because different things are going to work for different types of audience. So that's kind of all I have to say about word count. Is by all means test it for your audience. Keep in mind, preview panes and character lengths needed and all of that kind of stuff. But ultimately, your word count, your character count is unlikely to have that big an impact on the success or failure of a subject line. Which brings me to my final tip for today. And my final tip is all about exclusivity. I can't say it. Exclusivity. There we go. Exclusivity. Basically, bringing in the concept of something being exclusive. We all like to feel important. We all like to feel like we've been kind of selected, picked out, chosen. And so anything that we can put into our subject lines, which helps people to feel like that, is more likely to get them to open an email. So just a quick story of how this has worked for me. A year or so ago, this was through the post rather than by email, but I received a VIP invite from a local car showroom to a sort of special evening that they were putting on to, I think probably like launch some new car that had just come out. And, deep down, I knew that I hadn't been like personally selected. There was nothing special about me that would have meant that I would, should go as a VIP or anything, other than the fact that I think I'd bought my car from there before or something like that. So I was a previous customer. But I was like, maybe I should go, VIP invite. It's going to be a select few people at this evening. And it was only because my husband basically said, no, don't be such an idiot, Colette. We're not going. We're not even on the market for a new car right now. I was kind of like, yeah, okay, fine. But it really did, that idea of, me being chosen and picked out as a VIP, it is really powerful. So if you can put that into your subject lines, you are definitely going to increase the number of people opening them. So how would that look like in a subject line? Let's look at some examples. So again, something similar to the example that I've just given. Your personal invite is inside. My personal invite to what? I'm invited to. Is that how exciting? So something like that. Just something using the word exclusive. So, an exclusive deal just for you or something like that. Or letting people know that the contents of the email is something that no one else will see, that, that it's only for them. So, I haven't talked about this anywhere else, or I haven't shared this anywhere else. People are like, oh, I'm being let into a secret, So anything like that, which gives that idea of being exclusive just for them, is really powerful and really works well. So that's it for today. My 3 tips were, oh my Lord, I've forgotten already. How have I done that? I literally spoke about them a moment ago. The open loop. So creating curiosity is the open loop. Word count and, being conscious of it, but not to the point where you're letting it rule your subject line. And then exclusivity, making people feel special, like a VIP, like the contents of that email is just for them. And that's it. I hope you found this helpful. I will be back again tomorrow with a few more subject line hints and tips, and I shall see you then. Take care.